Hello, my name's Andrew, welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to start today off by saying thank you so much to everyone that watched my last video. So for those of you that don't know, my last video was my very first ever YouTube video / booktube video, and I did the booktube newbie tag, so definitely go and check that out if you are interested. But I have just had people reach out on Twitter and Instagram, people that I've never spoken to before, and commenting on the video, telling me how much they enjoyed it and they're excited to see more, and sharing the links and things like that, and it just really means a lot. I think this community is so great at doing things like that for people, and whilst it's not perfect by any means, there are some great lovely people in here, and I feel really happy and proud to be a part of that. But enough of previous videos. Today's video is all about books that you can read in one sitting. So I've mentioned before that I always want to just sort of read more, and a great way to do that is picking up shorter books that you can read sort of in one go or across one day. I often find as well that shorter books are great at getting me out of reading slumps. So if I find myself where I'm not really sure what I want to read, I don't know what genre I want to go for, I will just pick up a shorter book, and if I'm enjoying it, I can get through it within a day, and I kind of get my momentum back. I get that serotonin boost that from finishing a book that I am obsessed with. So yeah, I feel like it's a super good way to, one, sort of read more and keep that interest in reading going, but then also to experience a different kind of writing, because more often than not, shorter books, because there's less pages, are a bit more streamlined, and sometimes for me they're a bit more impactful because it's not diluted by loads of world building or things. And don't get me wrong, I love world building and I love sort of subplots and things like that, but in short books they don't tend to be there as much, and it's a really good way just to focus, streamline on one main story and deliver like a punch. So these books that I'm about to go through are not ones that I actually read in one sitting, but ones that I could and would have liked to have read in one sitting if I'd be able to go back and read them again for the first time. They're also books that kind of mix sort of genres a little, so some of them are just your standard novels, others are short novellas with graphics in there, and there's one that is told in verse and has poetry in there and has illustrations in there, and it's beautiful. But yeah, without further ado, let's crack on. The first book on the list is My Sister, the Serial Killer by Onyinkan Braithwaite. So this is set in Lagos in Nigeria, follows two sisters. One is Kareed, who is a nurse, the other is Ayula, who is the serial killer. And I really enjoyed this book. I didn't read it in one sitting, but I loved how fast-paced it was. The chapters are super short and really interesting, and there's like, aside from all the serial killer stuff, which is definitely my bag anyway, like I picked this up because of the serial killer stuff, but there is so much in here about sort of relationship dynamics and families, and kind of that aspect that goes into why Kareed helps Ayula cover up her murderous tendencies, because their dynamic is pretty much Ayula will come in and kill someone, and then Kareed will help her literally clean the mess up and make sure she doesn't get caught. And there's loads of reasons for that. The main one being that Ayula tells Kareed that these men have attacked her and that Ayula was only acting out of self-defense, but after a few times Kareed starts to question Ayula's sort of stories that she's telling. It's really interesting, and I won't give too much away about it because I went in knowing very little and really enjoyed sort of experiencing it all. It's not long, it's 225 pages, it's got really short chapters, and the writing style is super fast-paced, and it's quite funny in some places as well, which I really liked. So yeah, definitely pick this one up. Next up, we've got two books from the Alice Oseman universe. For those of you that don't know, Alice Oseman is an author, and all their books are kind of set within the same universe, so some of the same characters appear across all the different stories, but each sort of storyline is individual. So these focus on mainly the Heartstopper storyline. So there's these like spin-offs and kind of additions to the graphic novels. So the first one, Nick and Charlie, looks at Nick and Charlie a couple of years into their relationship. Nick is ready to go off to university. Charlie is staying behind because he's 1 year below Nick at school, and it's just about their dynamic and how they're struggling to sort of adapt, especially Charlie is struggling to adapt to the concept of Nick not being around all the time. It's a good read, and it's really interesting to look at kind of university and that terrifying stage in your life where you're getting ready to go off and experience the adult world, and it's just mind-blowing. I read this in one afternoon, and I really enjoyed it, but it just left me feeling a bit sort of depleted afterwards, just because it deals with quite a lot in a short amount, and which is why, like I said earlier, short books can be so impactful, because this is one example of a book that takes you through the emotions, and afterwards I was just like, I need to switch off for a bit. The second one is This Winter, so I read that on Christmas Eve. It's set, I think, during all the Heartstopper stuff, so it's before Nick and Charlie, but this one looks more on Charlie's side of things, so it follows Charlie's sister Tori, who is the main character of Solitaire, and their younger brother Oliver, and just their Christmas day basically at home. Just and like, to let you guys know, trigger warnings, do check those out before you read any of Alice Osman's work, because she does deal with a lot of mental health topics. This one, for example, deals with looking at Charlie's suffering and living with an eating disorder. So obviously Christmas for British people is massively revolved around food, which for Charlie is a massive struggle for obvious reasons, and there's like just conflict between him and his mum, and just understanding sort of her not fully understanding what he's living with basically. And yeah, it just deals with kind of that high pressure situation that Christmas can be. So it was really good, I really enjoyed it. There's some really cute moments between Charlie and Nick here, and then it also made me, because I've not read Solitaire, so I really want to go off and read Solitaire now, because I want to learn more about Tori, because she seems cool as well. But yeah, so these two are really good, and like I say, added bonus is that there are other stories within these stories that you can go off and experience, and I really do highly recommend just reading more Heartstopper especially, but the other books in Alice Osman's writer's universe. Next up is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atter. So this follows Michael. It's a coming-of-age story that focuses mainly on identity. So the story follows Michael, who is half Jamaican, half Greek Cypriot, gay, and also discovers the world of drag as he's off to university. So it's like all these things come into one, and it's so good. I've never really read a book like it. It's on the bigger side, so it's like 300 pages, but if you see, it's got sort of like illustrations throughout, and different sort of, a lot of it is written in poetry or verse. So yeah, it's really good, and there's so much sort of in here that you can take in as you read. So you read the words and then you look at all the images, and it's a really captivating story, and just focuses on Michael sort of becoming himself as he sort of grows up, as we all do, as cheesy as it sounds. I've never, like I said, never ever read anything like it. It's such a good book, and I just highly recommend it to anyone, and the cover is stunning. Next one is Pet by Kweki Emezi, and this might be one of my favourite books of all time. It's absolutely stunning. It's another one that's short but delivers the impact. Like, the impact of this book, I was just gobsmacked when I read it. I read it over a couple of sittings, and I really wish I'd have just bitten the bullet and read it all in one go, because basically the story follows Jam, who lives in Lucille, and Lucille is this kind of utopia kind of world or town, and they've eradicated all the monsters, and monsters are kind of like metaphor used for systems of oppression like racism, homophobia, sexism, ableism, all these different isms and phobias that impact people in our world now. Lucille is rid of those. So monsters who commit these acts are basically stand out like sore thumbs and are dealt with in the appropriate ways. But it's very rare that these monsters come along, because like I say, these problems have in the most been eradicated. The representation within this book is great. The main character, Jam, is trans. She's also selective mute, so she uses sign language quite a lot. And then there's different characters throughout who just represent and invoke different things. The main story follows Jam, who summons this monster hunter called Pet, and nobody knows why Pet is there. Nobody understands, because people think, well, monsters don't really exist anymore, and you're kind of going on this hunt with Pet and finding out who this monster within sort of Jam's life is. It's great. It's so good and really impactful, and the writing style is just incredible. So I really do need to read more of Koike Himmer's work, because I've not read any of their other stuff and I'm really missing out. I already know that I am. So I just need to jump on this, because Pet is one of my favourite books of all time. Next up are two books that I've read both. I've read the first one in one go and then the second one in a couple of sittings, and absolutely love them. They're part of the same series, the 6-story series by Matt Wesolowski. These books are perfect for fans of true crime podcasts, because they're written like podcasts. So essentially every chapter is one episode. There are 6 chapters throughout, and it's a series where the narrator is sort of taking you through every episode and interviewing people connected to these crimes. They are obviously based on fiction, so the actual crimes within them didn't happen, but they're still really interesting. They both contain, and I imagine the rest of the series will as well, there are 4 books I believe now, some really good twists throughout. The first one follows the story of a young boy whose body was found, and it looks like basically everyone just assumed it was kind of an accidental death. It looks like no foul play, and it was kind of a case of misadventure. But obviously some people don't believe that, and the creator of the podcast does a storyline around it. Kind of every episode interviews a different person connected with it. So every chapter is a transcript essentially, and I just stayed up all night reading this. I absolutely loved it, and the twist at the end was great. I really liked it. The second one follows a girl who killed her entire family. So I think it's her mum and dad and her sister that she kills, and nobody kind of fully understands why. So this second one explores that, and you kind of learn the story behind her and her sort of upbringing and things like that. But it's told by different people around her and connected to the case. So this one was really good and really interesting. And what I really like about both of them is that they bring in, they're not fantasy whatsoever, but they bring in like that folklore element that is usually attached to true crime. So you often find with true crime there's a lot of urban legends that spring from them, and this book really captures that, and it's something that I love quite a lot about sort of reading about crimes and stuff, is the urban legends that people create afterwards. But yeah, these two are really good. I don't really see many people talking about these books online, and I would like to change that because they are very good books. I really need to read the rest of the series, and I'm really looking forward to sort of diving in. I guess I should probably check out the audio versions though, because I guess then it would be like listening to a podcast. But then part of me thinks like the whole point is that it's written like a podcast, but actually isn't one. I don't know, I'm not making any sense. But yeah, those are my picks, and there are probably loads more that I missed out and I'm not even thinking of right now. But obviously you can read any book in one sitting if you've got the power to do it. You can read a 500-word book, but I think these are all pretty much ones that are doable. I wanted to keep this list realistic, so hopefully I've done that. Let me know in the comments if there are any books that just captivated you throughout and I should definitely check out and try and read in one sitting. I'm always up for that challenge, and I'm always up for getting that Goodreads goal met, because at the minute I'm 2 books behind and it's not a good look. And finally, thank you so much for watching. It really means the world, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!